Hello travelers, and welcome to a new video. And today I'm here with a subscriber. His name is Dominic. He doesn't want to be shown in the video, but we've been talking about Wrocław and about Poland, the history and everything, and it's been quite interesting. So he showed me this place here in town, and it is the area where there used to be an old, actually it was the second largest synagogue in all of Europe. And could you tell me a little bit about it, Dominic?
Yeah, of course. So before, Wrocław in the past had a very large and very successful and thriving Jewish population. Their original prayer house, the synagogue under White Stork, became too small. And part of this Jewish population decided to build a new prayer house. And they built this synagogue, it was the second largest synagogue in Europe. It's not far from the city center. And basically they moved here. But later in the 20th century, when the Nazi period in the history of the city started, that Jewish population fell on hard luck. And in 1938, there was an event called the Krystal Night. So the Kristallnacht in Germany, or Noc Kryształowa in Polish. And that was this Germany-wide pogrom of Jewish population. The event happened because a young Jew attacked and killed a clerk in the German embassy in Paris. I don't know why. I heard different versions, some that he was protesting against German treatment of Jews, but no matter, it gave the Nazis the perfect pretext to kind of go after the Jewish population in the whole of Germany. And Jews were attacked during that Krystal Night. Nazis went after their businesses, after their homes, but also after their prayer houses. And this new synagogue, that was where we are standing now, it was attacked, it was desecrated, it was burned to the ground.
And this is what it looked like right here. And you said it used to be the second largest in Europe.
Yes, it used to be the second largest in Europe.
So it was huge.
Yes, it was gigantic.
And it used to be right in this area where these apartment blocks are now.
Exactly. After the war, there was nothing here. So as you can see around, the communists started building like those characteristic blocks of flats. And today the only thing that remains of that old history, that synagogue, is this commemoration that we have here.
Okay, so the persecution of the Jews started actually before World War II then?
Persecution of the Jews started a long time before World War II. Basically, the moment Hitler came to power, because Hitler already went after the Jews in his writing before he even became a ruler in Germany. And it was very insidious, right? Because today, if we think about Holocaust, we think about concentration camps and this incredible violence. But that's not how it started. It started by propaganda, it started by inciting populace, the Nazis explaining how the Jews are working against Germany, things like that. And when the Nazis came to power, there was this push, the Nazis were trying to push that populace against the Jews. And actually at the beginning they were failing. For example, when Hitler came to power not long after, he tried to instigate a ban or kind of a boycott of Jewish businesses, and completely failed. People just in Germany did not went along with it. But after all those years when he was in power, that propaganda slowly started to creep in, and this kind of culminated into that night, or that Kristallnacht, night of the Kristallnachts, where most of those Jews were kind of attacked. And actually a lot of Germans, particularly the intelligentsia, that were horrified by this. They did not expect it, right? They saw that propaganda, but they never expected things to come to this thing. And another thing that we kind of mistake about Holocaust, we look at with our hindsight into the past, and we think, wow, those people were so evil, right? How could they not? But actually people didn't know about it. It was done in secret. The government would come and would take the Jews, told them to pack and get them away, but people did not know about concentration
I brought that up the other day. We were having a conversation with another Polish guy, and he was saying that all the Germans were culpable, and I said Hitler actually lied to the German people, and they didn't know what was going on at first.
They were culpable of non-action, right? Of not standing up. There's this very famous poem by a German priest that I will not say it exactly word for word, but the gist of it is they came for the Jews. I said nothing.
Right.
I was not a Jew. They came for the unions. I said nothing. I was not in a union. Then they came for me, and no one said anything because there was no one left.
Yes.
So that's that situation.
You're exactly right. I've heard that also.
Yeah, you have your life, you have your troubles, you have your children or whatever. Government is going after some people, but it's not your problem, right? It's let someone else take care of it. But also the Holocaust was not believed, generally was not believed, and because, well, in Poland, at the beginning the Home Army had no clue about what happened in concentration camps. There is this famous Polish hero called Witold Pilecki, who was an officer in Polish army, who voluntarily went to Auschwitz because kind of the Polish Home Army had no clue what's going on there. He said, okay, I will find out, and he went there, and what he found out was a nightmare, and he spent there 3 years. He even organized a resistance net in Auschwitz, and then after 3 years he was sending reports to the Polish Home Army, and Polish Home Army was sending those reports to England and to US, kind of, look what's happening here.
Right.
And they did not believe it. They were like, no, this must be propaganda, right? So the Germans, they are civilized people, they couldn't be so bad. And they refused to believe it. In the end, Pilecki had to escape from Auschwitz, and he joined Home Army and took part actually in Warsaw Uprising. So it's an incredible story, incredible man. And the Sabaton has a great song about him. Actually, in US, the Holocaust was accepted and believed only when US soldiers kind of pushed through France and to Germany and started liberating German concentration camps and found what happened there. And that was the moment where finally Holocaust, and they filmed it. And that was the moment where Holocaust was finally believed in the West. This controversy that when US soldiers liberated one of the concentration camps, the Nazis surrendered, and the soldiers went to the building, see what's there, and just went out and gunned them down. They couldn't just handle what they
were
saw.
so angry
right?
about what they saw.
Yeah, so
You can imagine it would be infuriating to see that.
Yeah. So that's the big issue today, is that we are looking into history with our hindsight. And hindsight is always 2020, right? And we judge many people and their actions, and we say Germans were evil or were not evil. But it's not so clear cut like that, right? It's nuanced, it's more difficult, and
that's what I think, exactly.
Yeah, and sure, Germans
and
are...
the crazy thing is, now in the United States, if you ask a lot of young people, probably under like 20 years old, about the Holocaust, there's a lot of them that don't even know what the Holocaust is.
Well, I think in general, in the world, people are losing kind of those details of history, and there's a lot of kind of nuance, a lot of misunderstanding. And well, of course, in Poland, this is especially kind of important and remembered because, well, 6 million Polish citizens died during World War II. That's 16% of population. 1 in every 5 Poles died in World War II. And of those 6 million, 2.7 million, so nearly 50%, were Jewish. So the Holocaust was, and most of the worst concentration camps were built by Nazis in Poland to be closer to the Jews. I myself come from a city, a smaller city, not from Wrocław, from a smaller city in Poland, which basically a third of the population before the war was Jewish. None of them survived. All were caught and killed in the ghetto in Łódź and concentration camps. And that was the tragedy on Poland. Before the war, Poland was the most diverse country in Europe. Not many people know that. So there was a gigantic, proportionally the largest Jewish population in Europe. And after the war, because of the Nazis and the relocation policy of the Soviets, Poland became the most homogeneous country in Europe, with 97 or upwards of that people being Polish. So now kind of foreigners come to Poland and they're like, wow, those Poles, and that must be like a unwelcoming people. Or sometimes you hear they're a racist country, things like that, because there are only white people here. But that's not the story, right? That completely loses the context of what really happened and why Poland is like it is. And much of that knowledge is lost. And
yeah, it's tragic. It's tragic what happened, for sure.
It's remembered more in Poland because it happened here, but the rest of the world tends to kind of lose it.
Exactly. Not far away from where we just were, is this building, and now it is a modern police station, but at one time it was a secret police headquarters. And you know a lot about this, right, Dominic, or at least some of the background?
Yeah. So basically, after World War II ended, Poland was basically under Soviet occupation, because the Red Army went from Russia, then fought Nazis across Poland and to Berlin, and they established a puppet government in Poland. So nominally Poland was independent, but basically the government was asking Moscow for permission to do anything. And right after the war, most institutions in Poland, like police, like courts, like every kind of government institution, they were really run by Soviets. So there would be Polish people employed there, but the boss would always be a Russian, a Soviet. This building was a headquarters of police in this area, in Wrocław. And before, Wrocław was a German town. After the war, it was conquered, and the Allies, so Stalin, Roosevelt and Churchill, decided that this part of the world will now be Poland. But there was still a lot of Germans living in Wrocław after the war. So the police force here, that Soviet police force, was particularly strong, and they were really oppressive, both to Polish people and to German people. And the Germans were eventually expelled to Germany, which was a great tragedy for them.
So the Germans were expelled from Poland at one time?
Yes, the Germans were expelled from this area, and Wrocław actually is populated by people who originally inhabited Lviv, so that is now Ukrainian city. So basically the Polish borders shifted by a few hundred kilometers to the west, and parts of kind of very important Polish cities like Lviv were taken away from Poland, and Polish people were expelled, and they were made part of the Soviet Republic of Ukraine, because after the war, while Poland was nominally independent, Ukraine was not, was part of USSR. So it was just a kind of semi-autonomous republic inside USSR. And so Stalin expelled Polish people from those areas that were once Poland and became Ukraine, and put them here, and the Germans from here were expelled to Germany.
Okay.
So actually, an interesting fact, the University of Wrocław, which is a well-known and much respected university in Poland, actually my alma mater, is not a spiritual successor of the Breslau University, so the German university that was here before. It's actually a spiritual successor of the Lviv University, famous for the Polish school of mathematics and Polish mathematicians who broke the Enigma apparatus, and Stanisław Ulam, who helped with Manhattan Project. So today Wrocław University is much more a school that inherited traditions of the Lviv University instead of traditions of the Wrocław, so the Breslau University.
Okay, yeah. And what kind of things went on in this building behind me?
As the time goes by, and the communist system, so in general the communist system in Poland was always oppressive, and many people would actually be captured right after the war, people who opposed the communist system, but also later, up to the moment the communist system collapsed, people would be arrested, captured by the police, people who were suspected of opposing the communist regime, kind of working in the underground, stuff like that.
Right.
And so they would be arrested, brought here, and tortured. And they would be often beaten severely, or tortured, or held without any process. Because the police
sometimes killed.
There were deaths in Poland during the communist period of protesters, but a few of those happened during torture, but not many. Most deaths occurred during protests when the police shot at people. So there were deaths, and I'm not certain if any were in this building.
Okay. But
in Poland, yes.
Okay. And now it's a modern police station.
Now it's like a regional headquarters for police. So there's I'm not sure if there's an actual police station in this building.
Okay.
But it's like a police headquarters. So there's like mostly administration and stuff like that. But it still continues to be a police building, because after the communist regime collapsed, basically you cannot rebuild your whole country overnight.
Right.
So the people who were running the police department, who were communists, they were fired. New people were hired, but basically police stayed in the same building because it's very difficult
Yeah.
to shuffle everyone around.
Okay, let's just take another look at it. So it's quite a large building. You can see here. Across the street is the courthouse. So that building there, it looks like a castle kind of, is a courthouse. I believe it says police now. Policia, yeah, it's the police there. A lot of people would not know this, what he's telling me here. So a lot of thanks to Dominic for letting me know about this, because I had no idea that this was a secret police, and also about this synagogue that was once here that was burned to the ground or was destroyed.